All right, we'll try this again. What's going on, YouTube? What's up, Raider Nation? I'm Bubba the Raider, coming at you guys. I decided to do a live video today, and just kind of get my thoughts out there about what's going on. This is my second take at this. I had a connection issue. Hopefully, that doesn't happen again. So, yeah. Wow. Today we have the Niners coming up, and truth be told, I haven't made a video this season at all. There's been a few times I've sat down and recorded a video, had technical difficulties and all this other stuff, and you know, ultimately felt like I just, the Raiders just didn't excite me this year, didn't make me feel like putting in the effort since they weren't. And I mean, they were, and I've got thoughts, and this has just been an absolute crapshoot. And then this last week, obviously, everyone knows, last couple days, the announcement came that the Raiders would be benching Derek Carr and starting Jarrett Stidham for these last two games. And there's conflicting reports about how this went about, but that Carr at the games or at practice or at the facility anymore, whether or not he requested that or the team requested that of him. So I just want to come and give you guys my thoughts on this. I will make no bones about it. I know that Derek Carr is a player that has had this nation divided for years. And I am notoriously a Derek Carr supporter, rocking his jersey today. I think it's the wrong move. I think this is a bad move for a multitude of reasons. It falls partially on his shoulders, obviously, the way it does for everyone else. But he had a bad season. Like, there's no way around that. If a Derek Carr supporter is telling you he was fantastic, although, he was top 10 in passing touchdowns and number 11 in yards. But regardless of all that, because stats don't matter, because he also leads the league in interceptions, which also has a caveat. He played bad. There were times this season where I was like, all right, Derek, what are you doing? Come on. Theorist and a couple things. I'm not a conspiracy theorist at all. If you know me in my personal life, that's not something I do. So where to start? I hear a lot of people talking about how the Raiders have repeated the same thing over and over and over for the last 9 years, meaning Derek, right? And the trying the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. That's the definition of insane, I think is what it is. Or something like that. And to me, I don't understand where those fans are coming from when you look at the last 20 years and what our problems have been for the last 20 years. Like 2-0. I am 32 years old. I haven't missed watching a game since I was 11, right? And I watched before that, but I haven't missed watching a game since I was 11 years old. I can tell you that we never have consistency at coaching, okay? Derek Carr's had not 6 coaches over 9 years. 6 coaches over 9 years. I don't think the entirety of the Pittsburgh Steelers organization has ever had 6 coaches. That's stunning. And they're always up there. They have so many Super Bowl rings and so many AFC championships, and always in the they have consistency at coaching. The Raiders have never had good trenches. We did have a year or two where we had a really good offensive line. That's not this year, but we had poor defensive line. You have to build in the trenches. You have to have the game is won and lost in the trenches. You have to have good offensive and defensive line. Point blank period. And we have never, ever, ever had a good defense. My dad is a diehard Kansas City Chiefs fan. I don't know why. Huge fan. And we were talking about it. And don't misconstrue what I'm saying here. Derek Carr is not better than Pat Mahomes. Pat Mahomes is the best quarterback in the NFL. But Pat Mahomes has a serviceable enough defense, a consistency at coaching his whole career, right? When you look at all the teams that are up there, they're not cycling through coaches like this. Their players are getting used to a system, and you can see it with Derek. His first year with John Gruden, it was rough. His rookie year, it was rough. His first year with Del Rio, it was rough. But once he got a little bit of leeway into the system, he was good. And a year or two into both those systems, I mean, he was for the first half of the season, plus he was talked about in MVP contention last year. So, he's a good quarterback. And people want to talk about, well, he's not going through his read, and there's excuses and there's reasons and there's, I'm dying to figure out what happened because it's being told that he's not he's being told where to throw the ball, and he's handcuffed with this audible thing where his audible he can have one he can audible into one pass play or one run play. With Gruden's system, he'd get up to the line, he could read the defense, he completely changed the play to whatever he wanted, complete full autonomy. But in this new system, McDaniel's brain, and that's where the problem is. That's what the problem is. The problem with the play calling, the problem with everything. And we'll come back to that because you can see it. I'll be interested to see today what happens with Stidham. So my thoughts are all jumbled because I'm really angry. I'm really pissed off. We had this guy, and this has repeated itself, and it's true. It's true with all quarterbacks. You look at any quarterback in a new system, and they're not coming out. I mean, maybe there's one or two, but they're not coming out and crushing it. Herbert just made the playoffs for the first time in his career. It takes time to learn the system and to gel, and it's really hard to do that with a shitty offensive line and no defense. Never once has Derek Carr had played on a team that had a defense in the top 20 in the NFL. Or I guess 20 is the highest they've ever been ranked. You can't expect a quarterback to overcome that. Pat Mahomes couldn't overcome that in terms of wins. In terms of wins, you can overcome that in terms of stats, but wins and losses are not a quarterback stat. I don't know. I want to get it tattooed on my forehead. They're not a quarterback stat. You can win or lose because of your quarterback. They can cost you the game, or they can last minute heroics win you the game. But that's not a consistent basis thing. You're not winning every week because of your quarterback. Like, you have to have the pieces around you to play. And I'm tired of hearing, oh, good quarterbacks elevate and da 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 da. That's true to an extent, but you can't. There's never been a quarterback who has had to go through what Derek Carr has gone through, and even probably been as successful as Derek Carr has been. So I think we're making a big mistake. I'm a huge Derek Carr fan, but don't get me wrong, I'm a Raider fan. I'm tired of hearing, these haters and whatever talk about, oh, follow him. No, no. You could have left the entire time you were complaining about him, right? You didn't because you're a fan. I didn't because I'm a fan. But you're allowed to be critical. I'm allowed to say, yo, this is a giant step back. This is the repetition of the same things we've been doing for 20 years, not 9 years with Derek. For 20 straight years, we've never had a good defense. For 20 straight years, we've had one or two seasons of a good offensive line. For 20 years, We have never had consistency at coaching for 20 years. And for 20 years, minus these 9 that we've had Derek, we have had a rotating door at the quarterback position. How did this help us get better? How did we get better with this decision? If you honestly can say we upgraded because we got rid of Derek Carr, you don't know football. That's it. You don't know football. We didn't. We could upgrade. And these are my options. I'll tell you where I'm leaning right now. In my head, there are 3 best decisions that we can do so far. I need to watch a lot more film. I actually watch film. I actually know what I'm looking at when I watch quarterback play, which is why it's so aggravating to hear people blame Derek Carr for all sorts of stuff like, oh, I don't know, the interception that he threw when he threw to Foster Moreau last week. Well, when Foster Moreau bounced off his hands, or even the one to Renfro, I know it was a little behind him, but he's not going to lead him into the middle of the defense into getting killed or getting picked off. And Hunter Renfro, had the ball in both hands and spun around and dropped it and it got picked off. Like, anyway, that's the kind of stuff that then I go on to Bleacher Report and I see people being like, "Oh, Carr, you suck." Like when it's tipped. Darren Waller against the freaking Titans, right? Even like Renfro's fumble against the Cardinals. Like, I just don't get it. I don't understand how and haters will talk about supporters of Carr, fans of Carr, making all these excuses for him. I say they're not excuses. They're reasonable explanation, right? It's reasonable explanation. If he's throwing interceptions, like he's just staring down a receiver, throws, like, yeah, that's on him. That, like, there's no reasonable explanation. If he was playing behind a really good team and a really good offensive line and the defense was really doing their job, and I know people want to talk about how the defense has played better this year, and they have, but they're still like 24th in the league. Like, if you want to, if he was playing for a team like the Chiefs or the Bills, then this wouldn't be an excuse. It'd be on him. But these are reasonable explanations. Like, if you show up to work and your job doesn't give you the tools needed to do the job and you don't do it on time, there's a reason for that. You don't just, oh, you'll overcome it. Oh, you'll figure it out. You'll get it done. No, that's not how this works. It's not how this game works. And in the same breath, when the casuals are like, "Oh, you're making excuses for one guy," you're making excuses for 52 other guys. Like, you are excusing the poor play from the right side of the line. I don't care what you think. Derek Carr's the least sacked, but how pressured is he? How pressured is he? If you are watching these games and you are watching Jermaine Illuminor and Alex Bars and you're like, "Yeah, you're wrong. You are wrong." If you're watching these games and you think that anyone on that defense aside from Max Crosby, maybe Nate Hobbs, is worth a shit, you're wrong. There are 10 gaping holes on that defense. I mean, Denzel Perryman's played all right this year, but I haven't seen anything from Trayvon Merrick to make me think, yeah, Rock Ya-Sin has been fine. Chandler Jones has had 2 good weeks. Like, what do you do with that? What are you supposed to do with that? How are you supposed to win with that? And so if you expect Derek Carr to win with that and you're tired of hearing excuses, well, buckle up, buddy, and prepare to hear excuses for the next quarterback, because guess what? No quarterback can win with that. I don't care if you bring in Mahomes. So, speaking of bringing in the next quarterback, that's kind of where I wanted to go. Sorry, I'm all jumbled. I'm really aggravated about this. Also, if my face is doing weird things, I have a migraine today. I'm a teacher, and it's the last 2 days of winter break, and I'm getting ready to come back, and I always get a little stressed. So, so far, understanding that I haven't been scouting quarterbacks that heavily for the majority of the season, because I think that Derek Carr is the answer. I think that we have way bigger holes, but I've started to look into it because clearly he's not coming back. And if you are a big Carr supporter and you are like telling yourself, oh, there's a chance that they can restructure, there's a chance that they can work this out. This could be like Aaron Rodgers. It's not happening. He's leaving. He's going to play somewhere else. You have to accept it. You have to move on. And genuinely, if you are a fan just because of Carr and you don't want to support the Raiders, then please do follow him. Go find another team. Like we are Raider fans. I'm if you're rooting for Jarrett Stidham to get hurt or to no, like I hope Jarrett Stidham's the GOAT at this point. I hope we have our answer at quarterback. We don't, but I hope we do, because what this move did is left a gaping hole at the most important position on the football field. So right now, my top three choices in order of what I would want if I was in charge, if I was the GM or the coach or both of the Raiders. Choice number one is I would roll with Jarrett Stidham for these last two games. And I'll start with number three. Number three, I would draft Anthony Brown in the first, or not Anthony Brown, sorry. Anthony Richardson from Florida in the first round. He should be around where we're picking. And as disgusting as this is, and if you know me, you know my feelings. This is my least favorite person in the world. But I would bring in a veteran quarterback like a Tom Brady or an Aaron Rodgers who can help him develop, help him learn. I also would love to see Tom Brady play behind this offensive line and break his leg and go to retirement or whatever. But bring in Richardson. He's got a freaking cannon. His ceiling is so high, but he's raw. He's got to learn. So regardless, love him, hate him. I hate him with every fiber of my being. Tom Brady is the greatest to ever do it. So why not bring him in and let him help teach the kid, right? So that would be three. Number two, my second choice would be Lamar Jackson. And Lamar would be an upgrade at the quarterback position. Lamar would be someone we could bring in who is probably better at playing quarterback than Derek Carr, right? Or at least more dynamic. He gives us more that he can do. He's not as good a thrower as Derek, but he can run and extend plays, which so many of you love, and which clearly is super important because our offensive line sucks, So I don't know why people are so caught up on that. Like, yeah, it's cool to be able to extend plays, but you shouldn't have to. And I don't know. Tom Brady and Peyton Manning seem to make a pretty decent career out of it. Also, CJ Stroud doesn't do it. So those Derek Carr haters who are like, oh, I hate Derek Carr, I want CJ Stroud. They're very much the same quarterback, but we'll leave that alone. So Lamar Jackson would be my choice number two. And my number one choice, roll with Jarrett Stidham into next year, win 0 games, and draft Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams is, I've got reservations about CJ Stroud and Bryce Young and Will Levis and Anthony Richardson. I think Caleb Williams is going to be a guy who's a big difference maker. And I'm not big on tanking. I don't think that teams should do that. But I also think that he's different and generational. There's other guys there too, like Drake May and Quinn Ewers and whatever, but winless for Williams, call it for Caleb. I'm just aggravated that we're in this position. Like, if you think about this, this team last year, okay, we had, the Gruden scandal. Oh, that's where I'll go full conspiracy theory in a minute. But you got the Gruden scandal, you got the Ruggs, you got Arnett. When you look at this roster, I was talking to my brother about this when we were driving home from my grandparents after watching the Raiders barely lose, heartbreaking to the team that will go on and represent the AFC in the championship or in the Super Bowl. When you look at that roster from that day, and you look at that roster today, did we get better at left tackle? No, we didn't need to, right? We didn't have to. Colt Miller's a beast. Bringing in this new regime, did we get better at left guard? Yeah, I think so. I think Parham's better. Center's the same. Did we get better at right guard? We had Denzel Good. Is Alex Bars better than Denzel Good? No, we didn't get better at right guard. Did we get better at right tackle? We cut Alex Leatherwood, who was awful, but he's getting some pretty solid playing time with the Bears. And Jermaine Illuminor is awful. I don't think we got better at right tackle. Did we get better at wide receiver one? Absolutely. Absolutely. We did Devontae Adams best. Those are the big quarterbacks the same. Other receivers, I mean, Mac Hollins, Zay Jones, but Zay Jones is really wide receiver one. Renfro's the same. Running backs are the same. Did we get better at left end? Well, Yannick Ngakoue was better than Chandler Jones. So no. Did we get better at D tackle? No. Our D tackles have been horrible this year, which is why it pisses me off that instead of being able potentially to draft a guy like Jalen Carter, who in my mind, which we won't be able to, I think he's the best player in this draft class, but take a generational D tackle that will help us get pressure, generate pressure up the middle, help us lock down the middle for the run game. We're going to be drafting a freaking quarterback who's not going to be as good as Derek Carr next year. We didn't get better at D tackle. Right end is the same. It's Max Crosby. Did we get better at linebacker? I mean, it's pretty much the same. No. Did we get better at strong safety? No, we actually created a freaking hole. And I mean, I don't like Abram. I don't think that Abrams was the answer, but cutting him like that, it just generated another hole to fill. Did we get better at corner? I think Rock Ya-Sin is about the same as Trayvon Mullen. So how did we get better with our coaching change? We brought in Devontae, which is huge. What did they address? What did they do? How did we get better? We didn't get better. We got worse as a team. As a team, we got worse. And if you want to look at that and you want to blame that on Derek Carr, I don't know what to tell you. Go read a book. There's books out there. There's videos on this app that can show you how to understand the sport because, and again, I don't have, like, if you want to move on from Derek Carr, you move on from Derek Carr. He's not getting any younger. He's my age. He's not going to be around for 10 years. This new quarterback will be around for 10 years. Like, I get that. But if you want to make him a scapegoat, if you want to pin all of the woes of this team on Derek Carr, you're going to have a really hard time moving forward because we have now 3 more holes than we did to start the season. Or I guess 2 more holes. 3 if Josh Jacobs leaves. So that's my thought. I'll go into my conspiracy theory. I ultimately think that Brady is coming, which makes me disgusted. I think when the report came out about Dana White working out that deal, I don't know, freaking Dana White working on that deal with Gruden and Brady and Gronk and Mark Davis, when that came out and it was told that John Gruden blew that deal up, said, no, I want to roll with Derek Carr. I want to stick with Derek Carr. Part of me wonders, because this decision was made the day after Brady announced that he was not considering retirement. And I was listening to the Haberman and Middlecoff podcast. They go check them out. They're really good. And they have like insiders for the Niners and the Raiders that they like. They're pretty freaking legit. And he was talking to one guy who works for the Raiders, one of these guys who was in the room. He said when the decision was made and said that Josh McDaniels and Dave Ziegler, our head coach, or our head coach and and McDaniels and Ziegler's our GM, they wanted to keep Derek starting through the end of the year. They wanted to give that to him. We still have a freaking chance at the playoffs. And I guess the report is that Mark Davis came in and said, no, we're making the change now. And he said that the podcast texted that guy who was in the room, whoever that was, the source, and asked him how long he's been wanting to do this, and he said since 2018. So part of me is thinking the timing of this, the bringing in of the Patriots players, the Patriot coach, former offensive coordinator, the fact that he's coming in and saying we have to move on from Derek, I wonder if this has been the plan for Mark Davis the whole time, is to get Tom Brady here, sell jerseys, all whatever. And I wonder if John Gruden was standing in his way of doing that. And I wonder if he needed John Gruden not to be in his way anymore. So part of me is thinking that maybe Mark Davis had a hand to play in the reason that John Gruden is no longer our head coach. Whether that's justified or not, in your opinion, I'm not going to get into that. I don't want to talk about that. But there was a leak of these old emails. I wonder if Mark Davis had a role in that. I don't know. What I do know is this: I'm pissed. I'm pissed that we're here. I'm not hopeful. I'm not excited. I don't think that there's going to be anything but woe for Raider fans for years to come, to be honest. This team has given me no reason to think that. And getting rid of our one consistent piece, who, regardless of what you think, is a good football player. He's a hell of a football player and a great quarterback, top 10. Elite, I'll say it. Not this year, he wasn't. But I also think this year was sabotaged, which, again, it'll be interesting to see the play calls today with Stidham. Are we going to run some stupid-ass wide receiver like jet sweep on 4th and 1 to Devontae Adams? Are we going to dial up some sort of halfback pass with Josh Jacobs to play after he breaks a finger? Are we going to have Hunter Renfrow come in and play fullback? Are we going to have Josh Jacobs play fullback on 4th and 1 with Devontae Adams in the backfield, as if everyone in the entire world doesn't know that the ball is going to Josh Jacobs? Genius, right? Are we going to forget that Josh Jacobs exists and make Derek Carr throw? Or are we going to not let Derek Carr throw at all? Derek Carr's not throwing at all. But I'm just saying this is what's happened. Like, are we going to have absolutely no balance whatsoever? I think that this has been sabotaged. I genuinely think the goal is, write this down, mark this down. The goal is for this regime is to move on from Derek Carr, and they don't want Josh Jacobs back. I don't think they do. I don't think there's a reason they declined his 5th-year option. New England notoriously doesn't pay running backs. There's a reason he wasn't even freaking starting week 1 of the preseason. Like, I think he forced their hand in good play, but I also think part of the running him to death is hoping that he'd get hurt. I don't think they're going to re-sign him. I think he knows that. I think that's why he came out this week and goes, I have enough money. I just want to be a Raider, to really force their hand. And I don't think they're going to do it. But maybe I'm wrong. Who knows? That's my thought. I mean, this season has been a freaking crapshoot, shit show. Frustrating. But this is even more frustrating. These are decisions. These are decisions that I genuinely believe are setting the team back. And, I'm hearing people talk about how dumb the fans of Carr are and go follow him. And we can be critical of this team. These are the wrong choices in my mind, in my head. I don't want to spend a top 10 pick on a quarterback this year. I'd love to draft a Joey Porter or a Will Anderson or a Jalen Carter or Christian Gonzalez. I'm a big Ducks fan, and bring in a stud up, but we're going to draft a quarterback. I just feel this. And waste the chance at that top 10 pick of bringing in a guy to fix an actual hole we have. Well, now we do have a hole at quarterback, and we're going to spend it on quarterback who might not play next year. And when he does come in and play, he's not going to be better than Derek Carr right away. I mean, I'm not saying he won't be better down the road, but he's not going to be better right away. And you know what won't be better from that? Our cornerback position or our defensive tackle or all the things that we need. You freaking signed Gardner Minshew. I'm okay. I like Gardner Minshew. I think he would be good. stopgap, and just it's aggravating. Like, so aggravating that I'm talking about. I'm going to the game on Friday, or I'm leaving Friday. I'm going to the game next weekend, the Week 17 game with my dad against Kansas City, and my grandpa and my uncle. We're going to Vegas, and I told my wife, like, I will never not support the Raiders. I'll never not support the Raiders. Always watch the games. I will not miss a game. I will always rep my silver and black. I was a Raider fan long before Derek Carr. I will be a Raider fan long after Derek Carr. But I'm so tired of the same stuff. This is the same stuff. You might be too young to remember what life was like before Derek Carr, but it was just like this. It was like revolving door at head coach, no defense, same stuff we have going on, no trenches, and we had a revolving door at quarterback as well. We had guys like Terrell Pryor and Matt McGloin and Andrew Walter and Jamarcus Russell and Kerry Collins and all the way back to Rich Gannon, Marcus Tuiasu-Sopo, and Carson Palmer. It's like that's where we're headed. And the big part is because we don't adequately draft. You can't build your team through free agency. You have to hit on draft picks. I think Davante Adams is gone. I think we probably should let him go. We should probably trade him. He left Green Bay for a reason. He didn't want to work with a young quarterback. We should probably trade him wherever Derek goes. The Raider fan in me hopes Derek agrees to a trade. The Carr fan in me hopes that Derek screws the team over and says, no, like, I'll go. Why would I hurt the team I'm going to go to? Why would you put me in a position where we're throwing away draft picks like we've done my whole career so that they can have me when I can get cut and I can go play for them anyway? And we could spend a first round draft pick on a guy who's going to come in and help me with an actual team. I just don't see how this isn't a full-fledged rebuild, blow it up, and it really kills me. A big part of the reason that I don't want to draft a quarterback this year is because I think that Josh McDaniels will be fired. I hope he is. I hope I really do. I hope he's fired, not this year. He won't be this year. But I hope he's fired. I want him gone. And I think that completely is counterintuitive to what I've been saying the whole time about coaching consistency. But at this point, I'm pissed enough. I think he's been bad enough. I think he's the reason. I think play calling is the reason. System's the reason. I think he's probably lost that locker room. I heard a report this morning that Raider fans are really upset with how this is, or not Raider fans, Raider players are upset with how this has been handled. I don't want to draft a quarterback and then have him learn Josh McDaniels' system and then fire Josh McDaniels and bring in another coach. That's what we've done. That's why Derek Carr's in this position, right? System after system after system after system. I want stability. And I want balance in our play calls, balance on our team. I want good defense. I want good offensive line, and I want a good quarterback. And I don't think Davante Adams is going to want to stick around. So I think we should probably try and trade what we can. I guess, like, if you wanted to not fix the defense and focus solely on offense, then freaking try to get a first for Derek and try to get a first and a third or a second for Davante for next year, and draft Bijan Robinson if Josh Jacobs isn't back, and then turn around and draft Caleb Williams, and hopefully you have another first round pick and get Marvin Harrison Jr. Like, that to me would be like, oh my gosh, that's like a Madden thing. That won't happen. We'll probably blow these picks. So I don't know. Anyway, let me know what you think. Be interesting to watch the games. I'm running a little bit late here. Sorry. I'll come back and I'll make another video and tell you my thoughts. If you like this video, like the video, and subscribe if you haven't, and just win, baby.